I'm out here in the shed today with the Kubota BX. Got her all cleaned up from my previous job. I hadn't actually washed it all summer long. So I washed it, I went through it, greased it, because I've been working it really hard lately. And because I've been working it hard, I figured I'd do something nice for it. Come over here. You can see I bought a Summit third function kit for it. This kit I bought on eBay. It was $549, which I thought was a smoking deal. I had my eye on these for a little while because they were one of the cheapest third functions out there, and it seemed to be a really good kit as well. I did watch some other videos, just seeing, what the parts look like and if anybody had any trouble with them. And everything that I saw shows that it's a really solid kit. So let me get this out of the box and I'll show you guys what we got here. Okay guys, so now that I got it unboxed, you can see everything that's here. I did already unbox it once just to make sure I had all the parts listed on a manual here because I want to make sure everything was there. That way if I had an issue, I can get a hold of the company and get whatever was missing. But luckily everything was there, so we shouldn't have any problems because I plan on installing this today and tomorrow I got to go on a job. So we'll just go through it here. The first thing you got is your solenoid. This holds your solenoids on either side for switching the hydraulic flow. Over here is your manifold block, a really nice hefty piece. It's milled out of solid aluminum. Looks like they did a really nice job on this. This will be getting attached to your solenoid block like this. So up next here we got the remote. So here's the remote. I really like this remote as opposed to say the Landpride remote. The Landpride remote, it just seems a little bit cheaper made. The buttons, they don't seem like they'd be as watertight as this is. And they do consider this waterproof. It's very ergonomic. It's really no bigger than the factory knob. What I plan to do is probably keep it this way where I could control the movement with my thumb. And then that way I don't have to retrain my hand, when I'm doing my loader controls. Sometimes I'm just palming my joystick. And I feel like if I had to keep two fingers out front like this, it would throw me off. So I think I'm gonna keep it like this and then just use my right thumb to control the functions. So on the other end here, we got a fuse. In case anything ever shorts out, this fuse will pop and nothing will burn up. And then we also got a plug here, which this plug eventually gets plugged into two relays, one here and one here on your solenoid. Over here, we got your brackets. This taller bracket here will hold the solenoid block and the manifold block. And then this other bracket here goes on the cross member of your loader, and they call this a bulkhead. Over here, we got all your fittings. You got your quick couplers, male, female couplers. I believe there's 3 of each. 3 female couplers, 3 male couplers. They're all Pioneer. They should all work with the original Kubota fittings. We also got a bunch of adapters here and whatnot for going into this block to convert it from, I think it's 3/8 to 1/4 inch. And over here is a U-bolt that holds this bracket in place on the loader. And lastly, we got your relays. These relays will be going and getting mounted to your solenoid block. And what's really nice is they come with gaskets, as you can see right here, which mate to the block and creates a watertight seal, so you don't have to worry about any water getting in these and ruining them. We got some hardware here. They will hold the solenoid block to the manifold block. That's what holds them two together. The gaskets for that is on the back side of this. You just got to pull these plugs and take off that cardboard. The O-rings are already there. Okay, and then last but not least, we got our hydraulic hoses. These hydraulic hoses look really nice. They're made by Hydrolite. Right on them, they say that they're flame resistant. They're rated for 5,800 PSI, which I think is way overkill for a Kubota BX. But I kind of like that because if you guys ever watch Neil Messick's video, he shows that the forces that are being applied backwards on a grapple can force back the cylinder, which increases your line pressure and can increase it by quite a bit. So it's a really good idea to have higher rated hoses for your grapple or the lines going out to your grapple in case this pressure has ever exceeded more than 3,000 PSI. So that's kind of nice. Kind of nice that they give you higher PSI than you need. So these were 1/4 inch hoses, and these will be going out to the bulkhead or out to the front of the loader. And then we got 2 3/8 hoses, and these will be going to the power beyond and basically tapping in. So one will intercept the power beyond and bring the fluid to your valve, and then the other will bring the fluid back from the valve and then back to the power beyond. So you're pretty much just splicing the power beyond, and you're just adding another loop in there for the hydraulic fluid to flow. They also did include you some zip ties, which is nice. I did pick up some hydraulic fluid. I got the Super UDT too. I was at the Kubota dealer the other day, and I figured I might as well just grab a couple because after all these lines get filled, you're definitely going to be a little bit low. Probably just a quart or two, but I grabbed 3 just to be safe. And lastly, you guys might be wondering, why'd you buy a third function if you got nothing to use? I have no grapple. Well, someday I plan to get a grapple. Someday soon, I hope. I also want to get a front auger for this. I think it would run it. I think it would just run it slowly, but I definitely think it would work. So I'd like to get one of them. But I also have a hydraulic top link now. I actually got this hydraulic cylinder from an old buddy of mine. Asked him what he was doing with it. He told me nothing. He said it's just been laying there, and he told me if I wanted, I could have it. So I took it home, and it's been sitting here for the better part of a year. So since I ordered this third function kit, I figured this would be a great use for it. I sanded it all down the other day, and I painted it Kubota orange. And then I had some 1/4-inch hydraulic lines laying around, or 3,000 PSI. I brought them down to Napa, and I had the proper ends put on them. Down here at the cylinder, I had them put on 90s. They're JIC swivel fittings, so these are really nice. This way, when the cylinder goes up and down, the lines won't get pinched or be yanked on. So these are really nice because they'll be able to flow with the cylinder. And then on the other end here, I just had them put on regular 1/4-inch fittings. And when I was at the dealer, I picked up a couple Kubota quick couplers, females, so that I could put them on the ends of these lines. So this is all put together now, and it's just been waiting to get hooked up. You can see it's just all loose. The only thing I did was install the cylinder where the top link went. So my plan today is to install that third function, and when I get all done with it, I'm gonna disconnect the 2 ports that would typically go to your loader, and I'm gonna plug these 2 hoses in. And then that's gonna allow me to use my third function as a hydraulic top link controller. So that's gonna be really nice. I'm excited to use it. I don't have rear attachments on this a whole lot. I actually got to get some more because the 2 I have aren't the proper size to this tractor, which is why I never use them. But it's definitely going to be nice to have, and it definitely looks nice as well. So, all right, guys, I don't want to talk too much. Let's get into this. So I did go through the manual. I kind of read through it all already. It's very detailed. So I'm going to go somewhat by the manual and then kind of by my own thoughts of, you know, what makes sense with me. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is get all my fittings connected. So I'm gonna get my couplers on my bracket here. I'm gonna get the block mounted to the solenoid block. Both brackets mounted to the tractor, and all my quick couplers installed, or all the ones that I can. And then from there, we're gonna go and see if we can start connecting these hydraulic hoses. Probably the last thing that we'll end up doing is running the wires and connecting our switch. So let's get to it. I'm gonna get this bag ripped open and start connecting my fittings. All right, guys, so just like anything else, you know, it looks like a lot when you first get it all out of the box, but once you start whittling away at it and start putting things together, you end up with fewer and fewer parts, and things get easier and easier to assemble. So it's the way you gotta look at it. It's really not that complicated. So rip this bag open here. It's nice. It even comes with these your boots, your male and female boots. Protect your quick couplers. Fittings dumped out. All right, so the first thing I got to do is take off this protective cover. It's a piece of cardboard with little plastic caps to hold it in to protect the mounting surface. Get that out of the way. And as you can see here, there's the mounting surface, and all the O-rings are already installed. Now we want to mount our block to our solenoid block. Keep in mind that there's a P for pressure on the side of this solenoid block. Make sure that you have this block aligned the right way, because otherwise it'll be backwards or it might not work at all. So you want the P side of the manifold towards the P side of the solenoid block. Okay, that's done. Now that we got that done, we can now install our fittings to the pressure side and the return to tank side. And we could also put our A and B side on. This is going to be going out to the loader for our quick couplers. So on here is going to be 2 male couplers. And on this side is going to be the proper fittings for our hoses to go to our Power Beyond. So in the kit, you only got 4 3/8 to 1/4 fittings. So you know that these are the 4 for the block. The ends for the male quick couplers are going to be the ones with the O-rings. Because that's going to make it seal. And then the ones with the JIC flared fitting, that's going to be the ones for your hydraulic lines. So these 2 will go on P and T, and then these 2 here with the O-rings, those will be going on A and B for your hydraulic lines out to your loader. Okay, them are all tight. You can see it now starting to come together. So now we're going to take our male quick couplers. We're going to take these fittings, and we're going to thread them on the ends of our A and B ports. Okay, so we got our block all put together. that's pretty much it. This third function is going to be getting mounted to this bracket here, just like this, and it'll be hanging right off the right front of the tractor. So let's get it installed. First thing we got to do is remove this carriage bolt. It should be a 13 millimeter or 1/2 inch. I got a ratchet and a wrench. You're also going to need an Allen wrench to the appropriate size for the 2 mounting bolts. All right, so we got the factory carriage bolt out of the way. So we're basically gonna be getting rid of this bolt, and we're gonna be adding in the bolt that comes with the kit here to hold this bracket on. Directions say that the bolt should be facing upward, so it should be coming up through like this and getting nutted from the top. I did bring myself some blue Loctite. I want to put a little blue Loctite on these to make sure that they don't vibrate out, because they're just going into aluminum, so really don't want them to come loose on me. Just put a little bit on each one of them. You don't want to use red or you'll never get it off, so blue is a nice in between. It'll make it so they can't vibrate out, but it'll still come apart if you ever need it to. Okay, so now the block gets mounted with your mal quick couplers facing upwards. Now I'm going to tighten them up. Okay, then we're all set. This bracket's actually made from 1/4 inch steel. It's really thick and strong. Shouldn't have any worries about bending this or breaking this off. All right, so now that we got the valve all mounted up, now we can get back up on a bench and put the rest of the fittings together for the bulkhead. Get the bulkhead mounted to the loader and get our hoses run from the bulkhead to the third function. What I'm gonna work on now is getting our proper fittings into our bulkhead here, our loader bracket. So what we're gonna need to mount the bracket is what's left in this bag here, which is our U-bolt and 2 other nuts. And these 2 nuts are what's going to hold the bracket in place onto the U-bolt. So now we got to work with these special fittings. These are called pass-through fittings. As you can see, they got a JIC on either end. This has got the O-ring on one end and nothing on the other end. The end with no O-ring is going to go towards your line, and the end with the O-ring is going to be for your female and male couplers for the end of your loader. So how this works is it's got this nut on here. This is why it's called a pass-through fitting. It's got this super long thread, and it's just going to stick into your bracket here, and on the back side you're going to nut it. You want to get it tight, and it's going to look just like that. But before I do that, I really want to see if this is going to work for the LA 340/344 loader, because technically it's not designed for it, so I want to see if it works first, because if not, I'm going to have to come up with a different plan, or I may have to switch the way these fittings go in here, reverse them or what have you to make this fit properly. So let me go check that right now. So this is supposed to go on the loader, which it does fit. And then this bracket is supposed to go, I believe, a long ways towards the front. So in fact, it does seem to want to work on the LA 340/344 loader. So I'm wondering if maybe they just built this before the 2380 came out, and this is like an older kit, and that's why the box was not updated for the 80 series tractors. Because to me, it looks like it's going to work. Now I'm definitely going to get my fittings installed, because I know the bracket's going to fit and work just fine. Okay, so we're back over here at the bench. We're going to install our fittings. So these are going to go through the bracket with the O-ring side towards the bracket. Alright guys, so now that we got our pass-through fittings tight, we're going to put the quick couplers on the end. I'm going to keep the female on the left side, and I'm going to keep the male on the right side. And these are O-ring fittings, so they don't have to be super tight. So here are the 2 1/4 inch lines that we're going to be using to go from our loader to our third function valve. As you can see, all the ends are the same. They're all 1/4 inch JIC. I pulled the plugs off the 2 ends that I'm going to be using right now. So the only 2 adapters that we have left are these guys right here. These are JIC on either end, and on one end has the O-ring. So again, just like we've been doing, the O-ring side will go towards the fittings, and the side without the O-rings are going to go towards the lines. Okay, now that we got them tight, we can thread our remaining female fittings on. These are the last 2 fittings that we have. So there's our ends. Now these ends will be going to the 3rd function valve. And now we can get these ends threaded onto our bulkhead. So that's all set now, guys. Let's get it mounted up to the tractor. From there, the only 2 things we have left are routing the hydraulic lines to the power beyond and hooking up our relays and our switch. Okay, now that we're over in front of the tractor, I'm gonna slide my bracket through the cross member. Just like so. I'm gonna get my U-bolt ready and my 4 nuts. You can't put these nuts on first because the U-bolt won't go around the loader frame. Now I'm going to slide my bracket into place here, get the bolts up through it. I'm going to lower these nuts, these bottom nuts a little bit more, just so that they're not in the way of keeping the bracket above the cross member. I'm going to get my locking nuts, get them up on top. So essentially that's how it's going to rest here. It doesn't look like it's going to interfere with this metal rod here for the quick park loader. The fitting is not actually going to hit it, so that's good. I'm probably going to angle this back just a little bit like this, and you'll have full access of that coupler. Shouldn't be a problem at all. Okay, now the first thing I'm going to tighten is these top nuts here, and once I get these nice and snug, we'll run the bottom nuts up to the bracket, and that'll hold everything in place. Okay, that's good. That thing is on there. Ain't going nowhere, so you can see I can get to these quick couplers just fine. Shouldn't be any issues interfering with the quick park loader. So let's go up here and see how we're looking. So the lines are going to follow here. I'm probably going to end up zip tying these right to this this little manifold right here where the hard lines go to soft lines. So I'll probably put a zip tie here. And then up here we can see we got all kinds of space here. So them are going to be going to them 2 couplers there. It's going to loop around. I'm going to have them zip tied, something like this here. And then again, I'll have a zip tie down here. And they should be nice and tight. They shouldn't go anywhere. So let's get these plugged in. Okay, that's in. Very nice fittings, by the way. Very nice couplers. I really like these. I almost like these better than Kubota's couplers. They actually look a little bit more hefty, and they just look like they're a little bit better built. So now that them are on, you can see we got all kinds of space here. All kinds of space with the hoses. Well, we got all the accessories put on, all the little stuff, the nuts, the bolts, the hardware, the adapters, all that's done. So we should be all set to install our last remaining lines here. So we got 2 3/8" lines here. These are going to be going to our power beyond. So I'm going to have to remove the rear tire to install these so that we can get to our manifold block. All right, guys, I got you over here on the right side of the tractor. I've got my jack in place. I'm going to be lifting up from the hitch bracket there on the bottom of the tractor. Nice solid support. Be lifting it there, and I will slide a jack stand under. I'm going to get this jacked up, and as soon as I got it jacked up, I will get back with you guys. Alright guys, I got my little flip socket. This socket's made for doing lug nuts. I got a bunch of them. It's 3/4 to 3/16. 3/16 would be the side that I'm going to be using for these lug nuts. Got my little impact gun. Another thing I'm going to be adding very shortly, guys, is wheel spacers. So if you guys want to see that video, make sure you stay tuned. You know, these are going to stick out quite a bit more, which is what I want for stability and traction. These are pretty heavy because they are fluid filled. Okay, let me get my light and I'll show you guys what we're working with. Alright guys, so as you can see, here is the axle. And just above the axle is your manifold block right here. There's only 2 lines coming from this manifold block. There's your power beyond is right here on the left side. You're going to want to get a little pan ready, which I'm going to slide under right now. Because when you go to crack this loose, you are going to lose some fluid. You're not going to lose a whole lot, just pretty much what's in the line. You're only going to be removing this JIC fitting here. So we're going to remove this, and then there's another connection underneath the tractor, kind of by the lift pump. So we'll be disconnecting that as well. And this whole steel line should come right out. It's just a short section. And then that's where our two hoses are going to intercept, one here and one over there. So we're pretty much just cutting into the loop and it's coming back down into the line that it was previously going to. Get this thing cracked loose here. Get my pan ready. There you go, you can already see it starting to leak. And there you go, it's dripping into the pan. So there's the front half of the line disconnected. Now we're going to get underneath the tractor and disconnect the other end of the line, which is more towards the front or the middle of the tractor. Once this line is out of the way, we can connect our two remaining hoses. Alright guys, so we're underneath the tractor now. We are more towards the back side of the tractor. Here's your fuel pump, or your lift pump right here. There's your HST fan up there. And you can see where all these steel lines come through here. I was just shaking the line to figure out which one I disconnected here. And it's this line right here. It's this line right here. So this is going to be the line that I'm going to be disconnecting. This is where our return to tank hose from the third function valve is going to be getting routed to. So let's get this crack loose and get this short steel line out of the way. And then we'll be all set to install our hydraulic hoses. This is definitely going to be the hardest part of the whole job, guys. Okay, I think I got it cracked loose. For this job here, a stubby wrench would definitely be better. I do have some. I just really don't feel like getting back up right now. But if I can't get it, I'm gonna have to. Just trying to sneak this wrench in here. I can get one more turn on this thing. I really need a crow's foot. That would be the right tool for the job. Alright guys, so I finally got it loose. Loose enough that I could finally start turning with my fingers here. It definitely wasn't easy. I'm trying to get it on video for you guys. Alright, it's off. Now I should be able to go up there and slide this line right out of the way. Okay guys, so we're back up top. Once you got that off, this line here just pulls straight out of here. Basically want to get it right out of the way because we're not going to be using it anymore. So as you can see, it's a pretty short line, maybe a couple feet. Once you got that out of the way, that's the hardest part about the whole job. Let me get my hoses ready and we'll go from there. Okay guys, we're back over on the side of the tractor. What I did to figure out what hose goes where is I took the shortest hose we had and I seen which connection it would actually make it to. Because I knew if the shortest hose made it to one of the connections, then I could only leave the other hose for the other connection. So this short hose is actually going to be going to the one under the tractor, the one in the midway point, as it's just not long enough to reach all the way out to the manifold block behind the tire. So I know for a fact that this goes to the T line, which is the return to tank, and then the other end here will be going to that point under the tractor, which is right by the HST pedal. So I pulled the plug out of this end. I'm going to drop this hose down through here and behind the loader frame, and I'm going to thread this end into the T-port on our hydraulic block here. Okay, so now that I got that snug, I'm just going to leave it loose so that this hose can pivot. And then that way I can adjust where I need this hose to go. And then at the end, I will tighten these down and make sure everything is nice and tight. So now we're going to go underneath the tractor and hook up the other end. Loader frame is right here, where the hydraulic line is coming down. It's coming down just in front of the loader frame. This line is going to be getting run alongside the floorboard here and straight back through to the return on your Power Beyond. So that's going to be getting run like this. I'll be zip tying it in place. Should be up and out of the way. Okay, so I've run that hose along the floorboard and I'm coming back up through here by the frame. And what this is going to do is it's going to turn back around, get looped over like this, and it's going to get connected to that JIC fitting underneath the tractor. All right, guys, so I got the line installed. So where I showed you where it loops over, comes around, and it gets plugged in right there, as you can see. That's that line. That's definitely the hardest line and the hardest job of this entire kit. Now we'll be installing the longer line. So I'm going to start on that now. Now I'm going to be installing the long line. This is the longer line. I'm going to pull one of my plugs off. I keep the other plug on so we don't get dirt in it. I'm going to feed the end with the plug on it, following the same path the other hose took. I'm just going to be bending this line and connecting it here on this inside port. Alright, so we're underneath the tractor now. I'm gonna be running this hose alongside this other hose here. So I gotta come up above this fender bracket here. Just like so. Now I can pull off the rubber cap off the end of the line, and we can thread this onto the manifold block for our Power Beyond. Alright guys, so now you can see that this line is connected to our Power Beyond. I've got it routed behind this main wiring harness here, so it keeps it nice and tucked in. Comes over top of the fender bracket, and then it follows the bottom of the floorboard. They both come up right up in front of the fender and in front of the loader mount, and then they both come up and right into the third function valve. Now I'm gonna run my zip ties, and then we'll get the tire put back on. Alright guys, now that we got all that done, we can finally put the rear tire back on. One thing to note, I ended up running the hoses for the hydraulic top link. I ran them right through here while I had to wheel off, right through the fender. And I followed the same path as the other hoses. She's heavy. Alright, I got 2 studs started. Alright, so now we're going to mount our wiring to the third function valve. Pull off these little protective caps. And now it doesn't matter which one of these goes to what. If after you got this installed and you use it and you feel like it's backwards with the way the buttons are, then you could always just swap these around. Okay, so now what I've done is I've just tightened down these nuts on the back side, which is what seals the wire in the casing here. Just tighten it down by hand. You don't want to put a wrench on these or you're liable to crack this. So I just tighten them by hand, and now they're ready to be installed. We'll pop that on there like that. Now we can put our wiring on, and these just push in. So now that them are both in place, and seal them up against some rubber gaskets. Alright, so our wiring is all set coming off of our third function valve. One thing to note, guys, is you can spin these solenoids around. I can grab a hold of this base and I can actually spin this. So if you decide that you want these relays facing a different direction, instead of straight out, you can do that. So now what we're left with is just one plug here, and this is going to be getting plugged into our switch that goes on our loader joystick. Okay, so here is our switch. All it is just this single cannon plug that gets it plugged into the wiring that we just installed here. And then you just got a power and ground with an inline fuse to protect it in case it ever shorts out. You can put this power and ground directly onto your battery. If you do that, just note that anytime these switches are hit, whether the key is on or off, the solenoids will be activated. I'm probably just going to put these on a battery for now, but eventually I'm definitely going to tap into some keyed power. That way this will only be powered when the ignition is turned on. Alright guys, so I got you mounted up on a tractor seat. Gives you all kinds of wire, so that's nice. Should have plenty of length to do whatever you guys want to do with it. And what's nice is coming directly off the stick itself is only one wire. So they got everything nice and sleeved in this one gray cable. And then after that it comes out and splits off. So the only wire you're gonna have running down your loader stick here is just this one gray wire. So this knob just comes off, should just twist off, just like that. I don't think this is gonna sit too much higher or too much farther up, so you shouldn't have to really do anything. I've seen other people cut this loader valve down, but I don't think it's gonna be a problem. I'd actually like it a little bit farther out because then I can keep my elbow right on the armrest when I'm working the loader stick. So for me, I think it's going to be just fine. So it comes with an included Allen wrench. So we'll just loosen up the hardware on this. So I'm going to take this side cover right off so we can see what we're working with. Okay, so this joystick comes with 3 inserts inside of it. Okay, they're in there like this. You're going to want to use the middle insert, which best fits the Kubota BX. So you want to take the middle-sized insert and slide it into the large insert, and then slide that entire thing over your loader valve. And then you can mount your handle. Just be sure when you're mounting this to keep your wiring off to the side in this little notch here. That way it doesn't get pinched. Once you have it orientated the way you want it, you go ahead and tighten these bolts down. Okay, so now that we got the joystick mounted, see the wire is just going to run right down the center of the handle. We need to get the wire fed through the boot. So the boot comes off really easily. The wiring, you're going to want to try to get inside the boot. That should be it. So now we got our wiring pulled through our boot. We can slide our wiring down through the loader valve cover. So now I got all my wiring pulled through and out the other end here. I'm going to put my boot back on. The round edge goes towards the outside of the tractor, just like that. Get all done here, I'll end up zip tying this wire, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Okay, so now we can continue on and get our wiring hooked up for a switch. All right, guys, I'm down here on the floorboard of the tractor now. As you can see, we got our wiring that's coming down through the loader joystick. Here is the existing wiring that's going to our block. These will get plugged into each other. And then the only other two things we got here are power and ground. So what I got to do now is take off the hood bonnet and take this out so that I can route my wiring in through into the battery and kind of zip tie everything in place, and we should be all set. I got the front cover pulled out of the way, and I have slid my hood bonnet back. I didn't have to take it all the way out because all I needed to do is expose this little firewall area here where the wiring is going to be getting run through and routed over to the battery. So this is plenty accessible now. Now we can start running our wiring and getting the rest of this hooked up. All right, so now that that's all in place, now what I'm gonna do is connect my main harness here from the loader valve to the third function. It's got a little rubber gasket here on it. Makes a watertight seal. Okay, so we're plugged in there. And then the very last thing we gotta do, guys, is plug in our power and ground. Now this battery just has a little strap that comes off the front. You wanna remove this strap here, and this battery will actually be able to slide right forward. So to pull the battery out any further, I gotta disconnect the negative side. Pop the negative post off like that. And now before I go any further, I'm just gonna hook up my negative while I'm right here. Okay, so the negative's all hooked up. We can slide our battery out the rest of the way, exposing the positive terminal where we will finish this off. And now we can slide the battery back up. Now we can take our battery strap and get that back in place. Technically it should work now. Let's go see. We should be hearing a click and maybe even seeing a light here on either end. I hear it clicking. So that's up and that's down. Really like that. It's really nice that it gives you the LED light indication in case you have some kind of an issue. So now all we got to do is button up the rest of this wiring and put our covers back in place. All right, guys, it's the moment of truth. I got my hydraulic top link plugged into the top. The front loader lines are just disconnected and capped off here, which is how I'm going to run this thing for now unless I end up getting rear remotes. Let's fire it up and see what happens. So that's it, guys. I really like this unit. It's nice and compact. You can see it's not in the way whatsoever. It's totally out of the way. It looks very clean. Very nice install. I'm really happy with the way everything turned out. I hope this video helps somebody. You know, looking online, I didn't see any really detailed install video, especially for Kubota BX. I tried to go through every single step I could with you guys, so that if this is your first time, hopefully you can do it with no problem by watching my video. The last thing you want to do, guys, is run it a little while and check your hydraulic fluid. I'm sure I'm going to be probably at least a quart low. So just make sure you have some hydraulic fluid on hand. And aside from that, just double check all your fittings and make sure you don't have any leaks. And if you don't, you should be all set. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned because I got more upgrades coming for this. I got wheel spacers coming on the way, and I also have some other goodies. So I appreciate you watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.